Hello again, this is the second video, and in this video I'm going to show you a few more ways of making a woodblock for the laser cutter. These ways are a little more simpler than the one that I just showed you. So I'll get started with one way. So here's another one, another image. This image I never used Photoshop, I just opened it into Illustrator. And right now you're looking at the original photo. Okay. So from here, what I did, and I'm going to turn on this layer now, is I traced using the pen tool all these little street lamps and some other stuff. So I'll turn this off so you can see what I traced. Okay. Now notice these tracings are not in blue, they're in black. So the other one I had more of a light etch, and this one I'm etching a little deeper because what I'm going to end up printing, and I'm sorry but I don't have a print to show you on screen, but what I'm going to end up printing is basically just a line drawing where all the white is going to ink up in black and all of these forms are not going to ink up, so they're going to remain in white. So after I did the tracing with the pen tool, I'll just zoom in, I selected them all. And the stroke also 0.01. And that black is very specifically red 35, green 31, blue 32. Again, it's RGB, so let's just make sure that the color mode is correct. So color mode, yeah, RGB. Now let's see what happens if it's in CMYK. If I switch it, now let's go back. Take a look at that. Okay, 35, 31, 32. Well, actually, it stayed the same. But ultimately, it's got to be in RGB. So let's just put it back to RGB. And the reason why I go through that is sometimes when you copy your files to the computer that's hooked up to the laser cutter, it switches around and it doesn't cut properly. Or you get an inaccurate image on the screen before you go to cut it. So that's something I'll go over when we're actually in front of the laser cutter. But I just want you to know that your Illustrator files always need to be in RGB, and your stroke always needs to be 0.01. And if you're doing a light etch, it's got to be 255 blue, and then 0 green, 0 red. But if you're doing a deeper etch, it's got to be 35 red, 31 green, 31 blue. So something like this would be good for a single color, just a single block plate. Don't forget to put a red stroke around it, which I did, and I ended up having to cut my woodblock on the table saw or the bandsaw. So not a big deal, but if you're doing more than one color and you want to register multiple blocks, it's a good idea to cut your block using the laser. So I just made that, and I'll just make sure that that stroke that I just put down is 255 red. So, and 0.01, which looks like it is. So there you go. And I'm always unclear, so I always have to double check. Okay, good. So that's another method, probably the simplest method, but because you guys are going to be doing multi-block printing, I want to show you another way to make multi-block printing. This is good for just one way. Okay, I'll show you this document. So this document, if you remember the Edward Munch print that we saw at the DIA, and Nancy Soika called it a jigsaw print. It was, even though it was printed in multiple colors, it was all originated from a single block. That's what I'm going to do for this print. So this is the image that I started out with, and it's all cropped because really all I wanted to have was this shape right here. I set my artboard in Illustrator to, let's go back to the size that I want it to be in. So let's go to Edit Artboards, and I'm looking at my rulers here. So it's 10 by about 8 inches. So So my block is about 10 by 8 inches, roughly. Okay, so here's my image, and using a combination of the pen tool and the ellipse tool, I traced elements of this photograph so that I could cut them out and ink them separately. So this is what I ended up doing. I cut out, or I traced these circles, I traced these shapes, and I made the stroke red. So the same way I cut the block completely out for the other ones, this way I'm cutting the shapes out. So let's just double check. So it's 0, 1, double check that. Okay, 255 red. Okay, RGB. I'm not going to check. I know that it is already. And if you want to see the prints that I made from it, this is it. So they were all inked up separately in different colors and then reassembled and run through the press in one shot. So this is it. And look how nice that wood grain. Oh, pretty. Okay. So last one is kind of a combination of the first video and this one that I just showed you. So here's an image. Let's see, this is the original photo. I flipped it in Photoshop. And then I converted it to grayscale and I inversed it. So all the blacks are going to be etched and all the whites are going to remain on the surface in relief. And then the grays are kind of going to go either way in a little dot pattern. I made sure to put an outline around it so that it cuts out of the block. You can see there. And I also wanted to cut out those letters that were on this is a telephone pole. So I also wanted to cut out those letters. So I traced the letters from here and I cut them out. In this case, I actually cut out 2 blocks. I cut out one with the outline and the image. And then the other one I cut out with the outline and the letters. And with the image, I also cut out the letters so that I could kind of swap out these black etched ones. And then when I actually go on the press, I can swap in these white ones that are in relief. The ones that, and here's the print. So all of these letters kind of came out like a jigsaw puzzle, and I inked them all up separately and put them back in the block. And the block itself I inked up in black. So this is going to be more clear when we're in front of the laser cutter and also when I show you the examples in class, but I wanted you to see the basics before we get started. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you on Thursday.